Attention.
If you stop this podcast recording at any time,
you will die.
I don't want to die.
Do you want to live?
You have 24 hours to share this podcast with 5 people or you will die.
I'm kidding, you won't die. You're just weak shit for not sharing.
And the winner of the best motherfucking podcast goes to...
Black with no cream.
What do you think?
It's so fucking dumb and so fucking Ben Haggerty.
I knew you would say that.
And we're back with another Black with No Cream podcast. Today is a morning roast episode. If you don't know what a morning roast is, get with the times. Or, I'll tell you. It is basically just kind of short episodes, hopefully to get you thinking differently, motivation. We deep dive into topics that we see commonly asked or talked about within our Black with No Cream private community for creators. Today I'm here with my co-host, David Malave. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good.
That's
How
good.
are you, bud?
I'm good, man.
Nice.
We're just here in our office, chilling. This is not the podcast table. The new table comes Friday.
This should be the last thing that you see with this table.
My fingers are fucking crossed.
Actually, this is the first and last thing you see with this table.
Unless I do an episode or something in between there, which I should, because we're kind of behind. Right. But new podcast table's coming. Got some chairs too that are on the way. We're going to turn this whole thing into a studio space and light it proper. Right now it's just an empty office with one shitty light. Shout out to Sean Sauce. Anyway, I think what we were talking about before for this topic today, I feel like we've experienced getting notes from clients, right? Hopefully by this point you've experienced that once, or if not, you will soon. Basically, there's nothing shittier than working on a project, spending all day, all night editing your video or your photo or your design, whatever it is that you're creating, working on it tirelessly for hours on end, and then handing it to the client feeling like they're going to love it, or the talent or whatever it is, and then they come back with feedback that is not what you wanted to hear. Oh, I didn't like the song you chose, or I feel like the edit's too fast, or whatever it may be that you're getting that is negative, and that shit is the worst. And that's hard to deal with, that type of feedback from a client or from anyone, especially as a creator and you feel like you're an artist and you want to be respected for your work. So that's why we wanted to narrow it down to talk about the topic, which we kind of had a title. I can't remember what it was. What do we call this? What were we going to call this episode?
I think we're going to call it How to Handle Feedback.
Seems
or handle notes.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah, something like that.
How to handle feedback.
But yeah, but basically I thought this was important because you know, as artists, we're emotional and we invest a lot into what we create. And you know what I mean? You want to, I know that me personally, I do this all the time. Like, I think that my way is right by instinct off top. Like, so I try to take a step back. And I feel like that's why this is a good discussion, because it's like, I think there's different ways that you can view or like perceive how you handle notes and how you handle feedback from your clients or from other people. And how, if you look at it a different way, you can help it improve what you're creating, or help improve the way that you're relating to the client, versus just looking at a situation like, oh, this person doesn't like what I made, or oh, this person doesn't get it, or they don't understand what I'm going for, and this is annoying, and I have to change it. Because honestly, it's true. You will have videos or projects where by the end you're like, damn, this isn't anything that I thought, or that I wanted to be at the beginning. But I feel like we're gonna talk about some ways to look at it where you can handle it in a way that first off will improve the way that you and the client, or the client, sees you as a worker, right, as a artist, and also it can at the end improve the product, because you ingested that feedback in a way that was positive and you implemented it, or at least it forced you to look at certain things a different way. So I think that we could go over. The
truth is that sucks is that majority of when you create is going to be collaborative, whether you like it or not, especially when someone else is putting money in your pocket for you to create for them. So yeah, like we said, it's I think the best thing you could take away from this episode is how to handle the feedback, right? What is a proper way to digest and, you know, try not to attach your feelings to a project in a way. Yeah, you can fight for your opinion and you should fight for your art, but there's certain times where you should let it go and certain times where you should fight for it, right?
Right.
So I think that that's like something that's super crucial to understand, is that not everything's going to go your way. Not every move you make is brilliant.
They're not gonna like your first. You should just expect someone not to like your first
just
edit.
expect it.
Or expect them to always say something back. The same way that when you negotiate a price, like you should always expect someone to counter you.
Yeah.
Like so, you should expect someone to say something about something.
I don't know how many times took like some of the ill shots in my opinion, and I might have 3 or 4, and I swipe through them and show like Lauren, and just to see what she thinks of it, and she hates the one I love the most, and then picks the other one, and then I have to think like, fuck, why do you hate that? This is why this is cool. But to me it was cool because I was there, I lived in the moment, I caught the image, I figured out, like, to me, I saw the person jump and capture at the right time, and that took a lot of patience, and I had to get it at the right moment. So that's why that photo is important to me. But for her, it may just look like any other image. It doesn't mean as much to her, so she may think that this picture makes more sense. So then I have to reevaluate, like, with the majority of people that I share this work with, feel like her or feel like me. Like if I'm the only one that feels like it's special, there's a reason for that. But I have to be able to detach myself, and almost 90% of the time she's right when I show her shit, and then I share it and it gets received really well. So it's like you have to be able to learn how to give and take with that, and that's just on a personal level. But then taking it a step farther, and you go with the client and you work really hard and you show out and you do the most on your content, and then you show it and they just like, it's just the opposite of what they wanted. And I've had that happen so many times where I've gotten to the point, and I know I had to help you learn that too, right, that it never goes your way. It never fucking goes your way unless you're Banksy and you're getting hired to like go tear it up in London, and for, you're commissioned by someone and they want you to do exactly what you do. Even though that's what they probably hired you for, to create whatever content you're creating for whoever you're working with, they still have an opinion. And when they start putting money in your pocket, it's different than just buying a piece of art off the wall at a gallery. They're not just taking something you already created and purchasing it. They're purchasing your commitment to helping their vision come to life. So you have to work really hard to like find the balance there. So I guess first step?
So that all that to me, what that means, I think all that was gold. Like there's 2 things.
Thanks, man.
One is understanding that like when you're working with a client, a lot of the time, like it's bigger than you. So like you are the artist, like you're saying, like we all feel like we want to come out what we feel like we express but a lot of times the project you're working on, it's bigger than you. There's this creative director, there's this manager, there's people above you, and they all have opinions, and maybe they have no idea what's going on, but the goal should be the project getting out, or the project feeling like it was a success from all parties, and you're like the conduit for that. And I think when you look at it in terms of that, and I think I learned that a lot from you on tour at that, where it's like, you at some points it wouldn't even matter if you got notes. You were just like, honestly, fuck it, because I just want to implement it. I'll take it, put it in, because that means it's going to go to this person where that it needs to go, and it'll come out. And that's always way more important than all the bickering and fighting and all the stuff that happens in between.
Yeah.
And I think if you can learn to like, plus another thing is off the edit, just off the first one, just after you spend a bunch of time on it, you're gonna think it's amazing, and you might not even take the chance to step back and figure out what might be wrong with it, because you're so invested in. So you looked at it for 5 hours, and someone with completely fresh eyes, you're expecting them to look at it and be like, oh, this is amazing, but they're looking at it fresh eyes, fresh perspective, and they're like, oh, this and this. And if you immediately just fight that, you're not even taking in like what they said could actually, you could look at it and maybe that's right. And I can't tell you how many times I'm stubborn, how many times like you or some of the clients I work with, or even on tour, where it's like someone will say something, I'll look at it and I want to fight it, and I'll take a step back and I'll put it in. I'll be like, actually, that was kind of a dope idea. And then you realize that the product was better because you went through that process of hold your breath. You may want to fire back that email like, this is why I shouldn't do it. But you actually take it, ingest it, put it into the project, and you realize, oh, okay, like this,
right.
Or a part of what they said plus what you said turns into
combo,
a better product.
Right. And I think that if you also, I think it's understanding how to converse with these clients as well, right? So that's like another huge portion of it, is like how to handle feedback, or make sure that you're consistently answering their questions or demands, basically, right? So like, say I have a client, like even with like Disney, when I was working on the commercial with them, which I totally forgot I did that, and I wonder if I can post it on my Instagram. I don't know. I should have hit them up.
You should ask.
I think it came out last month. But anyway, editing a commercial for them, and I would send an edit, and then they would have like 10 people look at it and everyone would give their feedback. So he would send me replies like, oh, could you do this? Could you do this? Could we add this? Could we extend this piece here? Boom, boom, boom. And the best way that I could do it was literally copy paste their questions into my response. And then in like a bright, bold yellow with like black letters, I would put my response. And so it would say like, copy that. I just changed that so that you know now that in the next edit that I've fixed whatever you asked me to fix. Or if I needed to fight, if I felt like I needed to fight for a reason why I did something, I would write the reason why I did it there and then ask them if it's okay. Hey, the reason why I couldn't extend this clip is because whoever shot it didn't shoot any more frames. I've used all the clip that there is, so this has to stay this way. Should we look for an alternative? So you like kind of poise other questions that may turn into another alternative in an edit. So if this clip doesn't work for anyone, I can get rid of it and find something else. Right. But you just need to understand that because they're not looking at the same footage as you. These people, the executives, whoever your client is, they don't know what you have to work with. So they may think the cameras were on the whole time, but the reality is that your DP only shot the scene that he was directed to shoot and didn't pick up all the random extra shit that they happened to see when they were on set. So you have to be able to reply in a way that sometimes you cave in and do what they ask because it's just easier than saying like, well, I actually like the speed ramp because speed ramps are in and they don't give a fuck. So let's take it out and let's put this random clip that's really stale and stagnant. Like, I'm not saying that this is what happened in my Disney clip. I'm just giving an example. Right. But like if they suggest that or want that, sometimes it's easier to like let them have that so that I can do X, Y, Z down below and fight for that. So I'd rather fight for like 2 or 3 strong things that I want in my final product and give them 5 or 6 just so I can have my 3 things. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm proud of that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you wish that you had all full creative control, but at some point you have to like let it go. So that's one way I handle dealing with clients is just finding proper ways to respond and letting them know why I'm fighting for something specific then versus just being upset and being like, nah, you guys are fucking crazy. Like, I'm an editor. I do this shit for a living. Like, this is fire as fuck. You should take this.
For me, it's always like, you will win always. You're never going to win if you're replying with negativity or with like, or like you're not accepting to what they're asking you to do. So like anytime they reply, like even if in your head you're thinking it's dumb, you have to reply with openness. Like, okay, I copy that. I will implement that. Or if I can, it's like, I did this because this and this, and I tried this, but also, it's not possible because these reasons, would you like to look for this? And
you're a cheerleader for them.
It's the tone that you accept and receive them allows them to be more open to your suggestions because you're not just shutting them down. And then in that sense, when the project is done, at the end, they're going to look back on you fondly because the whole time you were cooperative, the whole time you were totally receptive, the whole time you were open and polite and honest. And I think that that's the key, is like, you have to take a step back sometimes and realize that that's what we're saying. Pick your battles. I think that's so super key. Pick your battles. Know it's bigger than you. Like, it's not worth it to fight for these things if, one, it's going to affect the way they view you afterwards. It's going to cause the process to sour. Right. It's going to cause the process to go longer, which means you're making less money because you're working longer on it. All those things make it so that all that is fighting isn't worth it, So I think that, tone, like the way that you communicate, the way that you take a step back, the way that you ingest and like process and even just implement just to see, all those things help with feedback and notes
and get you a long-lasting relationship with your client. Because if you're just a negative person and you just think you're the shit, no one's gonna want to fucking work with you beyond this one. They're gonna want to get through this project as quick as possible so they don't never have to talk to you or see your name pop up in their emails ever again, because you always nagged and you always fought them. And people want to work with creators that are going to help them and their vision come to life, because they live in that. If a company has people staffed to oversee the brand of their company, these people live in the brand every day. And if they bring you in as a freelancer or whatever it may be, you're coming in as an addition to help bring their vision to life. And if you just go against that grain and fight them on stuff that they know works and they've done it before, and it may be some boring shit, maybe something that you think is not with the times, but sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and let it go.
I think something that I learned from you also was like, with notes too, like and this all has to do in my head. The way I look at it is like every time I'm working with the client, and we wrote about it, like turn 1 gig into 3. Every time I'm working with the client, it's like you want at the end of that process for them to be like, wow, that was really an amazing experience working with this person. He was punctual, he was polite, he accepted everything, he completed everything on time. And I feel like, and then these people who always have to find people for jobs want to work with people that they like to work with. They don't want to be emailing with someone on a job that is annoying to work with or is a nag. So like, if you're like that in the process, even if you got to take an L on this project, you may land another one with them next or 2.
And those people may let you come in and be Basquiat and do whatever you want to do. And you know what I mean? Like, oh, we loved what you did for them. And they don't know that you had to bow down to whatever their thing was and be like, well, hey, you know, in this project, what I was thinking about doing with this last project was I want to do speed ramps the entire time. Maybe I'll do that for you guys. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, cool, sounds good. But the last client didn't want it, but you still have to leverage that shit. So you always want to leverage certain things. Now is a great time to take our mid-show commercial break and talk to you about our sponsor today, which is shopbwnc.com. Check out this t-shirt and hat I'm wearing. Keep creating. Dave isn't wearing any of the merch.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
He's not a team player today, but his shirt does say player. We have
playero.
Yeah. Just if you want to help keep the lights on here at the BWNC headquarters, podcast space, help me pay for that motherfucking podcast table I got and the lights that we're about to get. Do it at shopbwnc.com. That's it. All right, we're back. I want to talk about I love segueing like that was a pre-recorded thing. Anyway, Dave, I was thinking, let's talk about like an instance that I just had with a creator that is I think is a good example of it. Because after I explained to this person the way we emailed with each other, basically, long story short, this person posted some content in Black with No Cream, and we want to try to start leveraging our space for creators to like share their work, and I think it's good to make tutorials. So I saw a dude make this dope photo, asked him to like do a tutorial on it. He's never done a tutorial about it, and so he ended up making a tutorial, and I want to watch it and give him feedback and feed it to him. And so we started this a couple weeks back. I made a tutorial myself. We put it on the Black with No Cream channel. Our goal is to start releasing these regularly and help use the creative community to fuel us with content that we can put on the Black with No Cream channel. So he went out of his way, did this thing, and it's been in my email to watch for like since he sent it to me like a couple weeks ago. And we then had the contest. I've been shooting content for artists, and I've been working with brands. We've been busy as fuck. We also got this space. It's been like a hectic couple of weeks, so that got put on the back burner. But he hit me with an email, and he was actually like pretty upset that he did all this work and that I hadn't responded to him or watched it yet. And for me, I wanted to let him know. So in the case of, for me, what he's lucky with was that I wasn't a client yet, I guess, unless you guys support us on Patreon. But I'm not a client. So in the case of for him working with an artist or a client or any of the people I've ever worked with, the way he responded to me about this would have probably sacrificed him ever working with that person ever again. So to me, I wanted to use it as a learning experience. But for me, he reached out and was like, hey man, just so you know, like I'm pretty upset that you haven't, I did all this work and spent money to get premiered so I could download this stuff, and I didn't really have any money and did all this shit that you asked for. But I am upset, and I feel like you
didn't respect my time.
You didn't respect my time, and you should at least said thank you. And when I got the email, I was like super bummed that he hit me like that instead of, at that point, obviously, if I hadn't replied to it, if he knows who I am and how often I update. I mean, I'm pretty vocal about how busy we are on the podcast, in the group. Hey guys, been slam doing all this other shit. Here's what I wanted to express in Black with No Cream. Like we try to be as vocal as possible about it. But just him messaging me about that, I was like, damn, he has to understand I'm swamped and not able to watch a 19-minute tutorial at any given moment. Plus, I want to dedicate real time to it. I want to at least give an hour so I could give constructive feedback and shit. So I had to break it down to him like, yo, I'm planning on watching this. It's on my to-do list. The to-do list is definitely extended beyond when we thought we'd do it, but your work isn't going unnoticed. And I had thanked him prior, even before he even made it. I was like, oh, cool. If you're down, that'd be sick. Thank you for doing this. This would be awesome for the community to share this. I'm trying to give them a platform. But the way he came at me about it, And he then, I responded to him with all this shit, and he basically was like, yo, so sorry. Like, most people wouldn't even have replied to my email and would have never talked to me again. Like, thank you for writing this email. Like, I'm sorry for coming off this way. To me, it was like, you have to understand that if you come at someone and say, like, look, you should have said thank you to me, and I spent all my time and energy doing all this shit, and you're just overlooking it. Like, you owe me, basically. Totally, I get it. He put in his time. He worked hard. He made a tutorial. Maybe he doesn't do this shit ever, so he had to learn how to make tutorials. It's not easy. I get it. But when you come at someone in a you should have done this, or I'm upset because you aren't, you're more worried about your feelings in that moment. You need to step back, think about how you want to approach this person if you do feel it. Like my example to him was, I'm probably busy. I work with fucking the biggest artists on the planet. I work with major brands. I'm developing a fucking basically nonprofit creator community for people like him, and trying to give him a place to leverage his content. So being that I am that busy, an email like, hey man, I know you're probably swamped. Just wanted to see if you had a chance to watch this tutorial. I would love to like get it out to the world. Just put some urgency on the fact that you hope that it lives online someday. And I would have been able to reply and say, man, thanks, dude, for reminding me. Like, I've been so swamped. Trust me, it is on our to-do list. We're going to watch it over the next few weeks. Like, guarantee you this content will come out. Like, thank you. Just like what I have told him in the email. To me, I feel like that approach, and I suggested to him, is much better, because if it wasn't me and you would have hit any of the artists I've worked with and said some shit like, dude, you haven't even said thank you to me, and I did all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. No one's ever going to respond to your email. No one's ever going to text you back. They're never going to work with you ever again, because you just gave a precedent that you are always whining and that you are always begging. You need all this like attention for your content, right? My lesson,
the biggest lesson I have from that, and I've been there too. And here's the thing: is once you send an email, you can't send it back. You can't unsend it.
Yeah, no.
Which is dope on Instagram, that you can unsend something.
Right.
Totally. I think they know. But the point is, you can't unsend it. So that is why when we're talking, even with notes, with anything, we all are emotional. You have a heat of the moment emotion, but the problem is, if you don't take a step back and digest the situation, understand who you're talking to, understand the importance of what it is, especially when it's a client relationship, once you send that email, you can't undo the effect that that message has. So in the moment, with our phones, with social media, we're so quick, like that almost that barrier has been blurred. From
totally, you realize that, damn, this guy hasn't even responded to me. It's been 3 weeks.
Let me just fire off a text. But you realize is that's a professional relationship, that with notes or whatever, if we try to tie it into an episode, it's like you have to take a step back and understand that the way that you respond and the way that you convey yourself, like, is very impactful. And once you send it, you have no way of taking it back, and then that you can't have any effect on how that person views you.
You deal with those repercussions, and honestly, it's tough.
So
I wonder if you can hear this more.
For this guy, it sucks because I feel like I've been there, and I feel like he sent it. He was just emotional in the moment, and I guarantee now he looks back and he's like, "Damn, I didn't really like that. Was just I shouldn't have sent it." But it's like, now he already sent it.
But here's the thing: is that I'm not saying that you said like who you're talking to, like he didn't know who he was talking to. I'm not saying that you're talking to someone. I'm not saying like that. I'm saying like, right.
You have to, for example, if it's a client and it's the exec, it's the head of marketing at a label, right? And you fire back because you're emotional, like they told you your edit sucks, and you're like, actually this and this, but you realize this person is like
the key holder
to everything. So
that's why my point was that in this case, I'm not saying like he is lucky that he fired at me, right? Because I'm forgiving his fucking. Right. The only reason we have
you're the only person that would write an entire
a response to try to help him learn from his mistakes. Like, to me, it was a mistake that he made talking to me that way. It's not a mistake for him to be upset. You can be upset. I'm sorry I haven't seen your tutorial. It's been 3 weeks. That's unacceptable. But at the same time, the beginning message said, hey man, I'm just testing this idea. It'd be cool if you could make this. I could give you feedback. If it works, we'll put it on our channel. Like, that's the idea. And I would love to give you a platform to share your work, because then not only are you're going out of your way to create for this, and in his words, he made it sound like I made him do this. I made him download Premiere. I made him learn how to make a tutorial. I made him make a video that potentially could get him eyeballs on his content. I gave him a platform to share his work, hopefully to many creators that could see who he is, and maybe he'll develop a working relationship from this. Maybe he'll, you never know what, maybe I'll remember him as a photographer that I would want to work with. So in this case, what sucks is that if you were to come at someone in that way, respond in an email in that sense, you're setting yourself up to put the nasty taste in someone's mouth to be like, oh man, yeah, like for me, yeah, it was just a tutorial. Yeah, he's upset about it. It's cool. Maybe people think I'm more like we're friends because of the way I portray myself on the internet. I just feel like maybe people think that they're connected to me. People will come at me all the time and cuss and shit and say all this stuff. And when they're trying to apply for a job, I'm like, dude, just because I say fuck a bunch doesn't mean that you should apply. And that's what I was saying about me.
I said like the lines are almost blurred because of the way, especially with the way how much outreach you have. You know, people feel like they can talk to you. Yeah. But I feel like that's a lesson learned, because the same way, like anyway, when you're dealing with emo and you're dealing with something, and it's just a lesson to apply to other shit. Like this, you know, you can talk to you like that sometimes. People can talk to you like
after we've established
but it's a lesson that we're trying to teach, which is like you have to understand that taking a step back and not taking that first fire back can save you a ton of problems.
Yeah. And that's why in this case, it's like, well, what if I were to want to hire this kid as a photographer down the road? But I will always remember that he wrote me this email because he was upset I didn't watch a tutorial that he made. That was his. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but that sounds like something that's too annoying. So it was annoying enough that yesterday, my time to explain to everyone is fucking limited as shit. Like I'm very, very much on my calendar. My day is pretty much bullet pointed out. We don't have any time to catch up on most things. We're behind on the podcast, let alone being able to take on every phone call and meeting I'm supposed to do. So I then ended up spending, because I'm fired up that he responded to me that way, but then took the time to write him an email to try to help him, like just taking that time out to explain how that affected me and could potentially affect him in farther situations in the future. So I hope that he learns from this mistake. Took time out of my day, where then I lost whatever time it took that I could have been applying to something else that could have helped the bigger picture with shit. Right. Which is, it sucks, but it's like we all go through that. And I'm not saying that like that it's the end of the day for this kid. Like he sent me the email and apologized. Like I'm still gonna, his tutorial's probably fire. Like his content is dope. I'll still work with the kid. But what I'm saying is that you have to learn from those mistakes. And I remember remember in Paris, and there was like something where there was like, I've known and learned protocol and you were new to it. And there was something where I was like, yo, like I remember you were like super hot about some shit. And I was like, yo, come over here, let's talk. I'm like, this has to happen for this to happen. Remember that shit? Mm-hmm. And then it's like just from that at the early day, and then right away you turn around like, all right, yo, I get it. Like my bad. I understand this shit. Yeah. And it was the same thing with me with Andrew. Like back in the day, I'm like, yo man, what do I got to do to get a co-editor credit? I feel like I really deserve a co-editor credit on this doc. And I was terrified to ask him that. Right. You know what I mean? But then I make my voice heard and I ask in a polite, correct way.
But I think that's important, because even that moment, like I experienced it. It's a little different, but it was like you had to check me for a second, and then when you checked me, I was like, oh, and I kind of like stepped back. I was like coming too hot, and I was like, okay, I understand. And after that, but these things, it's dope that you're a person that will do that, because what if I was working with someone else and you was just like, yo, and you
or what if I wasn't me? Yeah. And if you did what you did, and in that case, if it's something that I felt like I needed to check you on something, for anyone else, they could be like, yo, fuck this person. Right. Like for whatever reason, like fuck that kid for sending me that email. Yeah. He's done. I'm actually going to tell people never to work with this kid ever again. Right. I'm going to tell the community not to work with this. Like some people are dumb. Like people are really shitty. Like some lady drove by me on my booster board the other day and cut my ass off, and then she had to stop at a red light, and I pulled up right next to her and was like, yo, what's wrong with you? But I could have been someone bad, and I could have punched her or some shit, like, you know what I mean, like, or keyed her car, or done some, like, why don't do weird shit to people? Like, right. You don't know who you're ever messing with, so you always want to think before you do, right? And just tread lightly and try to make your voice heard in a proper way. That's like the main takeaway. So whatever it is with the client or with a coworker or whatever it is, like, you just want to think about how people receive your delivery, right. And then make sure you package your delivery in a proper way that's going to help them, you know, hear your voice and compromise. Yeah. Like that's all you could ever ask for, is that they're going to compromise with you, and hopefully you guys are creating shit that you're both proud of at the end of the day, and you did it by compromise. I think, yeah, dude, I guess this all really comes down to communication. And my thing, like, I spent so much effort writing in terms of like, and I feel proud to like feel like you have to, the words are all you have in email, or especially in business, a lot of times, to convey the way that you're thinking, and and if you don't put the effort into how you speak, you don't have any control of how someone else reads what you wrote. Right. So if you don't write it correct, if you don't think about it,
you can't control how, and even if you didn't mean it that way, you have no way to be there with them to read the email and be like, I actually meant this.
Right.
Or like say it with the tone that you meant it. So that's why at the end of the day, with all this stuff, communication, notes, doesn't matter. You get it back, think about it, write it out, understand that it's bigger than you, understand that, there are other people involved in the project, not just you. It is your art, but your job is to complete the project in an efficient, punctual, great way, and hopefully get hired again by that person because you were pleasant to work with. That's the way that's the way I look at shit. I feel like that's a good point to end on.
Hopefully this is...
Yeah. We went on a massive tangent.
Rant. Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm glad you got that off your chest, bud.
I just don't. I think people probably do this a lot. So it's like you gotta hear this shit to learn. Like every time something happens like this, I'm not afraid to like talk about it. And I don't think that kid should be embarrassed at all for talking like that. You know what I mean?
No.
He made a mistake, and I try to put it out there.
And honestly, I've done it before. Like I could think of a couple situations where it's like, damn, I'm like early on where I was like, damn, I kind of burned a bridge there just because I came hot on email, and you always regret it.
Yeah, totally.
You always regret it because you're like, damn, I should have waited like 30 minutes.
Unless you're right, then take that shit to the grave.
Bro, yeah,
but if you feel that, if someone tells you this is why you fucked up, and then you're like, nah, I think they're wrong, fight it. Fucking keep fighting it. That's fine.
Yeah, I guess there are always ways to fight for shit, but I'm saying there's sometimes where you're like, you look at an email and you're like, damn, if I would have just had like 15 more minutes, I could have rewrote that just slightly different, and it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. Treat everyone like your girlfriend, guys, or your boyfriend, whoever you're fucking. Anyway, that's it for this morning roast. This is the longest morning roast we've ever done. 33 minutes.
33?
Maybe we had some pre-roll. I don't know.
We would have cut it probably like after that, before that whole last
before the commercial break. Which is a perfect time to plug our merch. Stop BW. This is the only way we afford to do this shit. So pick up some merch or support us on Patreon. Patreon's gonna be cool. We're actually gonna meet. We've been meeting the last couple of days trying to figure out how to revamp the Patreon page, and we asked the community to suggest things that they might want for a tier. So if you want to suggest how we can make Patreon even better for those who contribute, because we appreciate all of you that do contribute, comment on this video on YouTube or message me on Instagram or email us, blackwithnocream@gmail.com. I don't give a fuck. Just let us know any suggestions you have, and we will make that better. All right, cool. That's it. See you Sunday. Do we have an episode on Sunday? Or we're like really behind? We're not going to promise anything. All right.
Yep.
Bye.